Welcome back, football fans.
There are a lot of really good teams, and it's just one of those times.
It's going to be fun, man, and I've been. There's a lot of style, a lot of speed, a lot of talent across the board.
He's that general out there and he can sling it. And
Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Mark Trouble, your host here, joined as always by Coach Tim McEnany. Coach, we've got the hats here, the two hats that truly matter this time of year.
yep. The high school South Jersey hat and
The high school South Jersey hat.
and the fighting.
And the fighting Phillies. We got them here. The Phillies, of course, up 2-0. As you know, we are staunch supporters of the Phillies. You got some powder blue, I got some red and some blue as well.
We asked the question, do they break out the powders tomorrow? We don't think because it's on the road, but the older guys know that used to be their
That's right.
their road uniforms back in the day. So, Phillies looking good. I guess we can't put that one up for our.
Nah, we don't want to wake Kevin Minnick again. Last time we had a dispute with him over the Indiana Hoosiers. But Schwarber again came through, a former Hoosier, with 2 homers the other night. A couple times they've.
Yes, he did.
A couple times here in a short amount of time, the Phillies have set records that only Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, have had before. So let's talk some football, Mac. First off, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor here, the West Jersey Football Coaches Association, established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. In less than 3 years, they've done just that. They created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated themselves to helping others. The association's donated more than $50,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for your sponsorship. I also want to shout out Dave O'Sullivan, his platform here, facebook.com/SJGloryDays, or visit him at sjglorydays.com. Sully does a great job with all high school sports in the area, and we salute him for giving us a platform. Here we are on his Facebook page. Sully is geared up for the end of the season. I know we are too. We want to give a shout out as well to Rod at Studio B, D2 Sports Network. Thank you, Rod. Beautiful studio. We got some tweaks that we've enhanced it even more, man. All is well. We just appreciate everything Rod does.
We're looking different ways on camera, right? I gotta figure.
He makes it easy for you. He makes it easy for you.
It's Tim-proof.
That's the important part. Hector, I don't know what the deal is with this spam, man. Maybe that means we're going big time when we're getting spammers in our comments here on Facebook. As always, we'd love to see the interaction. Feel free to chime in. This is the last week of the regular season, folks. We are down to the nitty-gritty here. Next week, we're looking at playoff action. We can't wait. We're going to have a full playoff preview for you next week. It will be Wednesday at 7 p.m., as there's no playoff baseball that day. Moving forward, we may have to tweak some things, but we'll let you know when we do that. First, before we take a look at the last week before the playoffs and where we're going here, let's touch on the game of the week and the action of last week. We'll go kind of through those games quickly after our break, all around South Jersey landscape. But the game of the week last week was Hamilton at Delsea. And Mac, you figure we're talking wing tee, We're talking a lot of running. We're talking a lot of
We're talking
low scores, maybe.
Well, maybe not low scores necessarily, but we thought it'd be a game of the week, close score.
Yeah, we did. And I said in the past 2 matchups, Delsey had their way with them, really blown out Hamilton, and that was unusual. And they did it again last Friday night. A 41-6. I think out of the first 3 or 4 plays from scrimmage for Hamilton, a couple of them were turnovers, short fields for Delsey, instant points. And by that point, really, that was all she wrote. I will say, the concession stand pizza was fantastic. But other than that, I don't know. It was pretty run-of-the-mill. Wayne Adair runs for 3 touchdowns, becomes the 5th player to wear this hat 3 times, tied for first all-time with Monty Williams, Jada Byers, Deron Holloway, and Latsier Brooks.
Some good company.
Good company for Wayne. He was excellent. They realized Hamilton was stacking the box, had those long tosses out to the field side. Wayne did the rest with his speed, getting to the corner. Daniel Russo, son of former Vineland coach and Vineland star back in his day, Dan Russo. He was excellent as well. And his play at fullback and linebacker last year, the heart and soul of this Delsey team was Jared Shoppy, who's off wrestling in college now. Russo has kind of grown into a leadership role. He's a quiet kid, but they are kind of following his lead now. He's dragging guys. Wayne got the hat, he got the touchdowns, but Russo had a heck of a night running the ball as well. And I do want to shout out Dom Teddy.
Yeah.
A lot of times we talk about this Delsey pass defense in the past, and we've wondered how susceptible it has been. And Teddy has been playing at corner over the years. He's done excellent. He was instrumental early in this game, having an interception, taking it inside the 10, and setting up one of those Adair scores. 41-6, this is Delsey's time of year. They have hopes and aspirations to getting back to that state championship where they lost last year to Old Tappan. We talk about how Delsey always is clicking at this time of year, Mac, and I asked Coach Marquez about this on Friday night. His insight was they like to throw, he says, we're far from simple. Everybody says we're simple. We run 3-4 plays. We run them out of different formations. We do this, and this. The blocking schemes, all this stuff, a lot of variables. But we throw it all at the kids from the beginning.
Yes.
They don't acclimate them in and grow the playbook, right? They start the playbook wide, and then by the time you get to the middle of the season, you've seen all the defenses you're going to see.
Correct.
You know what works best and what doesn't. You pare things down. Was that the approach you had, Coach, when you were looking at strategy and how to be peaking at the right time, or did it depend on the team you had?
Well, it depends a lot on the team you have. The older, more mature teams you have. And it seems like Delsey always has that senior leadership. But you do have an older team. They want more, right? They want more. They want some variety. But when it comes down to crunch time, you can look at you can make any analogy for different sports. Let's go to the wrestling world, right? When you watch the national championship, Penn State kid versus an Iowa kid, you're not seeing anything too fancy. It's takedown, double leg, riding time. Mm-hmm. No, it's the simple 4-3 type match. Well, football's similar, right? When you get to the crunch time you're not going to fool anybody in November, December.
Right.
It's the old adage, the teams that blocks, the tackles, no turnovers. But when you're installing your offense and doing your defense, if you want to, feed them with the fire hose in the beginning. I've done that with some teams, and some teams you've had to say, we can't do that yet. Yeah. We're not there yet. And both approaches can work, and that's why Sal's a great coach. I mean, he knows what buttons to push at this time of the year.
Yeah, he really does. He's got a great staff as well. Maxwell assisting, Flame assisting, and let's not forget, of course, Mark Deal assisting with the offenses. Coached the triple many years in South Jersey and that's success.
The other thing too, everybody, maybe for the novice watching what Delsey does, you think it's simple. It's not simple.
Right.
It's the lines, the rule blocking that those linemen have to do to make sure it looks simple, right? And what they do offensively on the run scheme. Everybody, I think people, not everybody, I hate to say it. I think folks think passing is difficult.
Right.
To install. Running is easy to install. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you run a elementary run game, sure, but if it's a complex run game, and defenses that are trying to stop that thing know that. And when if you're taking time and seeing what's going on, I mean, we used to try to we wanted to make life difficult on a defensive end.
Sure.
Yeah, right? We kicked them out sometimes with a fullback. We kicked them out with a backside guard. We kicked them out with a front side guard sometimes, right? Sometimes we didn't kick them out at all. We just read them and we did our RPO stuff with our quarterback. I mean, so there's 4 or 5 different looks that a defensive end himself's getting. So saying that in the world that Delsey does and the type of scheme that they do and the things that make them successful, I mean, they just do it so well.
Yeah. When you look at Russo, what he's added to the team, Sal says, he'd never thrown discus before. Sal coaches discus at Delsey. What he saw from Russo in his progress, he made it, I think he said, to the South Jersey, final meet or whatever. I'm not as familiar with the old track thing. But
the track thing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't covered track since Marquise Bell won the high jump at the Meet of Champions, and now he's playing linebacker for the Cowboys. But what I could tell you is, he said, I could see from the beginning that he came out and threw discus and wanted to get better and win, and that competitiveness I knew from a football perspective. Of course, he's a very good player and has been for a number of years. He's very familiar in the youth circuit. I mean, everybody knew how good Daniel Russo was. But that consistent ability to want more, and at Delsey, what that means is that extra rep. Mm-hmm. It means that extra 5 pounds.
Yeah.
They're weight room warriors. That's where they live. It's why they've always been so successful. They're also very big up front this year as well, bigger than years past. So Delsey is clearly one of the teams to beat. We've had them high in the rankings all year. Their only loss came to Winslow earlier in the season, and Adair left that game in the first half. So Delsey's feeling good about where they're at right now. They seem to be clicking, and that's pretty much where everybody expected they would be early in the season. A lot more to touch on last week, Mac. We had a lot of great action. We had, again, some lopsided scores. As I had an inbox full of messages about our conversation on scheduling, and maybe we'll touch on that at some point as well.
It seems to be a little bit of the haves and have-nots, and I'm sure you got a lot of suggestions and a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did. There were some people agreed with you. Some people said, I don't know if Mac knows what he's talking about, but, it's all fair in love and war and scheduling conversations. It's a topic that every year it seems like we get to this point and we say, okay, take the results and put them behind you. Now, when we look at this playoff preview next week, we'll look at some of these teams and say, who are the paper Tigers?
Right.
Who have they played?
Right. Who has 90 wins?
And when you talk about scheduling, when the playoffs start, and we've seen some 8 seeds beat 1 seeds,
yes.
We've seen 7 seeds beat 2 seeds, we've seen a number of West Jersey teams on the road go down and beat Shore Conference teams with lopsided seedings. I think then it focuses in and says, all right, how can we get the scheduling maybe a little bit better? But we'll see, man. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of fun. And there's some coaches here kind of on the edge of their seat waiting to see are we in, are we not?
Right.
Who's got the formula?
Right. If we're on the cusp of getting in, and I was saying 90 wins, I was referring to our Phils. I mean,
yeah,
right across the street, right? It's playoff time. And teams there's programs that become playoff programs at this time of year, and there's programs that are just dipping their toe in the pool and getting used to the bright lights, so to speak. So we'll see.
We will see. We'll be back and we'll review everything that happened last week. We have our Knot of the Week. It's coming from a place you know well, Mac, and I think you may have even seen it live last Friday night. So sit tight. We'll be right back with the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show.
Champions are made through training and hard work. At Zubac Athletic Performance, we have helped over 40 athletes reach the NFL and have dozens of NCAA players in multiple sports using our programs today. Located in West Berlin, New Jersey, we can help you and your athletes reach your goals. Visit our website for more information.
Welcome back to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Mark Trumbull here with Tim McEnany and Rod Self at Studio B. I do want to give a shout out to our buddy Hector Santiago. He never misses the show, and he let me know this week, even though it's not a knot, it is an interesting development up in North Jersey. Weequahic High School had not allowed any points this season. They have demolished the teams they played in Week 1. And guess what? They finally gave up some points, and it happened on a safety. So they've now given up 2 points on the season. They beat Westside 58-2 to go to 7-0. Just 2.
It's not a non-offensive touchdown. It's a NOS.
Yeah, not offensive score. They still haven't been scored upon on offense. Let's take a look at what happened last week, and let's start with Cedar Creek and Oakcrest. This was a rivalry battle many were looking at. Oakcrest had never lost to Cedar Creek, and guess what? After Friday night, they still haven't. The Pirates moved to 13-0. They bounced back from that tough loss to Delsey. Billy Smith throws for 205 yards and a touchdown in his return from injury. Amir Dunbar, 33 carries, 160 yards and a touchdown. And I hope I pronounce this right, Guyon King, a receiving touchdown and a pick as Cedar Creek bounces back from that tough loss a couple weeks ago. Cherokee beats Kingsway 34-7. Ryan Bender, 10 carries, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Chiefs. Mainland, 49, Clearview 20. Stephen Ordilli, 3 rushing touchdowns. Rocco DiBiaso, 2 receiving touchdowns. I do want to give a shout out to Clearview's O'Brien Brown here. 22 carries, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns against a pretty good defense. Some pretty big numbers. Always want to give a shout out to players who put up a big stat line, even in the defeat. Hasn't been the easiest year for the Pioneers, but congratulations, O'Brien, on a good performance. And Mainland is doing what they've done to everybody.
A great performance, and I know Mainland looks at that like they're not too happy of letting up more than usually 100, let alone 248. So, that's a huge effort against a really, really good Mainland squad.
Absolutely. Shalleck takes the rivalry. They beat Cumberland 35-8 to remain undefeated. And you know what? Chris Baker's right here in the comments. He says the Golden Fedora will not return. It was a supply issue. That's why we haven't seen the Golden Fedora this year. Thank you, Coach Smith, for letting us know on that. But Shalleck wins 35-8 against Cumberland. Kenai Simmons, 13 of 17, 236, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Right now, Shalleck is atop the power points, I think, in Group 1. If the playoffs started today, they would be the top overall seed. Seneca knocks Cinnaminson off. Look, first loss for the Pirates. It comes against a pretty good team in Seneca, 6-1 themselves. Their only loss came by 1 point to Paul to 6. 13-9 was the final score here. Zach Fioron, 23 carries, 106 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Worthen, a receiving touchdown and a pick. Highland, Triton, rivalry game, Mac. Not a lot of tightness on this one. The Tartans roll.
Yeah,
they've won
points.
5 in a row, I think. Peaking at the right time. They win 50-14. Connor Leary throws for 208, 2 touchdowns. And Nehemiah Butler-Mayhew, we mention him every week, it seems like. He's had an incredible year. 12 carries, 101 yards, 3 touchdowns. He caught one, too, as they get the win over the rival Triton Mustangs.
Right, you were talking about peaking at the right time. I mean, look, it's also scheduling.
Yeah.
You got to look at some of the lumps that some of these teams take. Nobody wants to quote unquote lose, but they're playing in some. A lot of these teams will be battle tested when playoff time comes.
Speaking of battle tested, we wondered Washington Township with that miracle Hail Mary to beat Winslow Township. What would we see from them as they went on the road against Shawnee? And what we saw is a team that bounced back and won again. They moved to 6-2. This is a team that is just putting things together at the right time for Coach Schatzman. Cole Aquino, 17-24, 227 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jared Dzergowski now, he is the primary running back for the Minutemen. Didn't start the year that way, but due to injuries, he's running there. 28 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Logan Perez, 11 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown. Winslow, 49. Burlington Township, 20. Jalen Parker in at quarterback, the freshman for the Eagles. I'd say he did pretty well. He picked up where he left off in the second half of that game against Washington Township. You can see there on the graphic, 21 of 29, 366 6 touchdowns. He ran for 1, 2, 7 touchdown night.
Well, that's
Jalen Parker.
why my head went down. I had to check out the notes there. I had to make sure that was a 6.
Just through the air. 6.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Plus the 1. That's
Yeah.
not a bad night.
Maybe we should call him Mr. October.
Well done, Jalen.
Excellent job. As Winslow moves to 6-2, they dropped the Falcons of Burlington Township to 2-6. Speaking of 6-2, that's where St. Augustine stands after shutting out Camden Eastside 30-0 on Friday night. Ryan Gamble, 3 for 4, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Julian Turney, 16 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Paris Pratt, 2 receptions, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pratt has really come on here lately. Rod, you saw this game and you saw Mr. Pratt in person. What stood out to you about him?
He was really explosive, great size. When you're playing against East Side, they have the athletes on the side, long, athletic players, and he was catching passes, outrunning them. I mean, he really impressed on the night. Those 2 touchdowns really blew the game open. It was the first quarter.
They only threw the ball 4 times, Rod, right?
Yeah, it was a game that kind of got away kind of early. Yeah. It was,
Yeah, Augie's throwing the ball.
You don't want to be behind against St. Augustine with the way they kind of
No, they can grind it out.
Prod through here.
Absolutely.
And I will say that kind of shocked me. That was kind of different. You expect Augie to come out and run the ball, pound it, exploit your, lack of defensive line play, so to say. But they came out and they threw the ball, and one play he was wide open.
Well, look, a lot of teams, as they try to defend St. Augustine, you really have. We've talked about this in the past. You got to kind of, as they say, sell out, right? Mm-hmm. You got to, 9.5, and then another. All eyes are on the box and seeing what's going on inside for the run game. And all week, coaches are preaching, right? We got to stop the everybody's guilty of doing the same thing, right? And then boom, you got this Pratt. Right, 3 passes, 3 completions, 2 to this guy, and he's a dude.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden you say, they play Lenape this week, right? Lenape's looking on film going, all right, well, maybe they only throw 4 or 5, maybe they throw 10 times a game, but are we over and under in this kid? Do we got to bump a guy out on him? And now all of a sudden, Hamilton, I always mess up.
I know you do.
I call. Yeah.
That's all right.
so Coach,
Pete probably does sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's there long enough.
Right? He calls them the Blue Hermits or something.
Yeah, probably.
So he's sitting there going, all right, they're going to over under my guy. All right, we're just going to run the ball. We're going to do what we do inside. So it's the old pick your poison, but he's a player, and they got, like you said, size up front. Some play action stuff.
My first time seeing St. Aug this year, they legit have about 3 to 4 guys who are going to play. They'll definitely play at the next level, but I'm talking about Power 5, football guys. Some guys are like right on that borderline.
Sure.
They are really good.
They're ordering a whole set of different pants, right?
They have.
They don't get the whole basic.
Yeah. They're legit.
Yeah.
They're legit.
They got some legs on those dudes. I've seen them. So
it's good to see Pratt come on. I saw them earlier in the year. The passing game was non-existent, and now suddenly he has come to the forefront. Just the sophomores, Kevin Emmons points out here in the chat, really coming on strong, having big game after big game. Had that big touchdown catch against Shawnee to beat them in the final minute as well a few weeks ago. Haddonfield moves to 6-1. They bounced back from their loss to Camden High, and they just rolled Woodstown 48-16. Dominic Hahn, 14 carries, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also caught a touchdown for the Haddons. I guess when you look at Gamble, 3 for 4, 134 yards. You look at Parker, the night he had. This is kind of the passer rating part of the show. The next guy, D'Angelo Conquest, he set all types of record at Overbrook for his career. They beat Lindenwold 48-12 the other night. He's 10 for 10, 166 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just light work. No incompletions, 4 touchdowns.
That's extremely efficient.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drew Harris for Haddon Heights, also efficient. The Garnets moved to 5-2. They beat Audubon 41-3. He's 17-22 for 217 and 5 touchdowns. So some really nice passing performances there in what used to be the Colonial Conference. I don't know what they are now, but traditional Colonial schools. Timber Creek stays undefeated. 7-0. They beat Williamstown. It falls to 0-8. 20-6. And in this one, I don't think the passer rating is what really stood out to me. What stood out to me is Brahim Wynn, who had 5 sacks on the night and 9 total tackles.
5 sacks. Let's help him out. Let's help it. Let's chip him. Put it back on him. Keep a tight end in.
Yeah.
5's a lot. No, I mean I know they move him, and he's a tough player to.
Well, Williamstown's the Braves, and you have to be pretty brave to try to block Brahim Wynn. And I don't know that it quite measured up. 5 sacks, and I mean, this guy has been a terror for a couple of years now in South Jersey. He is one of the best linemen that we have on the defensive
5 sacks,
side
and
of the ball.
it's not even a shootout either. It's not
Right.
like it's a 40-something, 30-something game.
And if anybody tries to discredit it,
Yeah,
we haven't seen games where
right.
teams are not as good,
Right.
and somebody walk out with 5 sacks.
No, yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to be doing something right. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like I don't know if Williamstown threw the ball. They don't look 30, 40 times. I don't think so. So that's a big effort. That's a big effort.
Some other scores from Friday. Pennsgrove continues their little run here. They beat Pennsville for Norm Willie's boot, 32-3. Notre Dame beats Delran 50-22. Lenape 30, St. Joe Hamilton 6. Lower Cape May 60, Buna 0. Glassboro 43, Deptford 0. Clayton moves to 4-3 with a 44-14 win over Maple Shade. Bordentown, the Scotties, 27-20 over Lawrence, who's winless. Gloucester 6-1, they beat Sterling 42-0. Middle Township 7-1, rolled Bridgeton 48-6. Pleasantville 52, Absegami 13. Paul to 6, 42, Collingswood 0. Pittman 20, Gateway 6. Holy Cross knocks off Gloucester Catholic 32-27. Florence remains unbeaten with a forfeit from Bishop Eustace. Some lopsided scores, Mac, again.
Yeah.
Saturday, another one that was lopsided. Camden beats Paulsboro 41-6. Mackay Brunson 11 of 16, 236 and a touchdown. Judah Anthony 9 carries, 122 yards, 3 touchdowns. Malik Red Hubbard 5 catches, 162 yards and a touchdown. Salem may have put themselves in the playoffs with the win they had last week. We'll see what happens. They moved to 2-6, beating West Deptford 38-14. Davion Jackson. We talked about passing performances. Here's a great rushing performance. 25 carries, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns for the Rams. We have a nice new Jumbotron up there at the new field. Willingboro 41, Nottingham 0. Lamar Best 7 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also threw for 2 touchdowns. Other scores on Saturday. Pensauken 34, Camden Catholic 0. Morristown 41, Pemberton 0. Vineland 38, Egg Harbor Township 0. Burlington City 60, Palmyra 0. Eastern 40, Trenton 0. And mind you, it rained on Saturday.
On what? One half.
So
of the,
some of these games, it could have been what, 86-0?
I was gonna say, what did it rain on one half of the field?
Jeez, oh man.
But I mean, I just want to say this, guys. I mean, the rain, the scores, it all makes me feel like we're watching Pac-12 football. Like
right.
there's absolutely no
We are.
defense and a lot of scoring
Look,
going on.
Look,
right now.
I don't know if you got a graphic, Rod, right now, but I'm. Listen, you have to tackle.
Yeah.
Right.
It's football. The game requires one to tackle. Now, you can roll your eyes at me all you
No,
want.
I'm not. I'm not rolling my eyes.
I mean-
one team in these games is tackling. The team that gives up 0 points, they have tackled. The team that gives up 40, 34, 38, 60, 40, 38, whatever. And this is
I mean, I know the state has come down and give all these limited rules on what you can and can't do in practice, how many minutes a week, this, that, and the other, heat acclimatization. So it's like you can't practice when it's hot and you can't practice tackling, but if you're going to play a game on the last week of August when it's what? Hot? And what do you have to do? Tackle?
well, look, I mean, at this point in the season, if you're not if you're not tackling by now, I don't know how much earlier a start you need to practice tackling to be tackling right now.
Well, it's not so much the earliness of it. It's practicing throughout the week of tackling. You know, I mean, look.
Yeah, I get that
Nobody wants to
too.
get anybody hurt in practice. Nobody wants to get anybody hurt anywhere. You know. I remember my dad. He would call me up. He's like, "Look, you got to do a little bit of banging, right? You got to do a little banging, close quarters, some goal line stuff, quick whistles. You know, no, he goes,
Thud drills.
But see, the word thud is code for sometimes kids for tiptoeing.
Yeah.
Like, you tell the kids this is live, and then you tell your coaches, yo, we whistle quick, and before they dump them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You just,
Well,
I don't know. I didn't say anything there, Rod.
I don't know.
You said a lot. You said a little, but it was a lot. It was loud and clear.
So by my count, we lost another undefeated last week, and Cinnaminson lost to Seneca 13-9. By my count, we're down to 4 undefeated teams in South Jersey. In Group 1, we have Shalleck and Florence. In Group 3, we have Timber Creek. And in Group 4, we have Mainland. So, but you know what? Next week, everybody's undefeated.
Correct.
Clean slate.
Yeah.
We're talking about playoff football, man. Thank goodness it's here.
Playoffs.
Let's talk about our knot of the week. Now, we talked about a safety earlier. Lenape got a safety against St. Joe Hamilton.
Yes, they did.
And I know, Mac, you don't like this return, the kick return, but we want to salute Michael LeMay.
I love the kick return of Michael LeMay here. Let's qualify that. Wow.
But I know you often say knots. You're getting the ball. It's different from interception or fumble. But I wanted to include this because Michael LeMay has been one of the most impactful players on the defensive and special teams side over the last couple of years. He's one of our better defensive backs in South Jersey.
He's been the Swiss
So
Army
a shout
knife.
out to Michael LeMay.
Yes, he's done a lot of stuff for that football team. He's played running back. He's played quarterback. He's a demon on special teams, kickoffs, punts, etc. Crazy to say. I coached his older brother on one of my first teams at Lenape. Tough kid, tough family. Michael's, he feels like he's been playing there forever, right? I know. I don't count the return, the punt.
I think you count it, but you just would prefer the pure defensive.
I like defensive scores.
Scoop. So do I.
Scoop score, pick six, block punt, bang. I guess, you block punt technically, you haven't gotten the ball yet. It hasn't crossed the line. It's still not technically your possession yet. So we can split hairs there, but either way,
You can split hairs.
Yeah, that's a great play. Well, in that game, you can't split.
I'm out of
any-
hairs to
you-
split. So is Rod. Rod's got a beard, though.
Right.
He can split those hairs.
It still doesn't balance it out.
It's not enough. Not enough. Excellent job, Michael. And it hasn't been the best year for Lenape, but I will say Michael LeMay brings it every play of every game. And he is absolutely, if you're playing Lenape, and I know Pete Lancetta is this week, right? First thing first on the scouting report is, where is 2-0?
Where's 20?
Yep.
Where's 20? Where's he on defense? Where's he on offense?
And that's the ultimate sign of respect.
Yeah.
That means you've certainly earned it. So where are we going to look for some games to watch this week? We're going to let you know right after this break, and then we're going to come back and preview the game of the week, go through the best 11 rankings. And that game of the week, man, we've been waiting all year for this one. So stand by. We'll be right back after this.
Pace.
South Jersey, let me tell you about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley, and I've had the opportunity to be around owner Mike Foti. I have nothing but the best things to say about Mike and his crew. SRA is a gold-accredited member of the Better Business Bureau under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up a ton of Best of South Jersey awards in the past. They contribute to multiple sport associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online at srahomeproducts.com. Thank you, Mike and company. Thank you, Matt Zubak, for your sponsorship as well. And, of course, NJFOA South Chapter, the Ed Meyer chapter. If you want to be an official or you want to make some extra bucks while being involved in high school football, you know what? They're always looking for folks, and they'll help you out with the materials and all that stuff that get you going, man. We can always use more officials. We've seen growth in that in the last couple of years, and it's been excellent for everybody involved. So please be sure to, if you're interested, get on in here. Now, I got about 6 games here I would look at, Mac. Oh, look, we got Rod's in the back and getting one of them. We're going to talk about this game of the week, but first I want to talk about these other games. First off, Friday night, 6 p.m., Oakcrest at Atlantic City, Mac. Oakcrest comes up short last week, but their defense is strong. Atlantic City, and let's just be honest about this with Atlantic City. Atlantic City's had one true test this season.
Yes.
It happened against Mainland. They lost that game by, I think, 35 points. Now they have a chance to really get in good shape as the playoffs begin against a local rival who's going to play tight defense, like I mentioned, in Oakcrest. So this is one that I think both teams, we mentioned games like this through the season, both teams will be better for it when the playoffs start.
Right.
But Atlantic City especially, I think they really want to sharpen their teeth for the playoffs. I mean, they haven't had those tests that maybe some of the other teams have had, and I think they're a team that hasn't benefited from the scheduling the way that it's been this season.
Right.
Mac, we know the pass game's going to be there. What do you think about this one?
Well, again, with the rivalry part of it, right? This is kind of what you want going into the playoffs, but you're going to get a feel. You kind of want to go into the playoffs with a upward trajectory, right?
Correct.
And you got to figure out who you are in this game a little bit.
Yeah.
Atlantic City is a good team, as you said. I don't know if they've been tested. Maybe is not as much as they would want to, but.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. And I think they're also looking forward to the opportunity to prove themselves after not having another chance to truly prove yourself after that big loss to Mainland earlier in the season. I agree, Troy. Those tests are important. Mac has hit this one right on the head. And Chris and Kevin say, I mean, this is a big win for Oakcrest if they can get it, because I believe they're Group 2 and Atlantic City is a Group 5. It would help them out immensely in terms of where they're slotted for the playoffs. And for Atlantic City, you want to be in there with Joe Lyons and Ice Cup, and you want to be kind of grooving back to last year. Remember last year they went to RV, they won that game in crazy fashion. They gave Lenape all they could handle in the South Jersey or the Central Jersey semifinal.
Correct.
Came up just short, and Lenape went on to lose to Edison. But, we're back here now. It is time to turn it on.
Yeah, I mean, we used to say November, but now we're a little earlier than that. But it's playoff time.
Rob, what do you got?
I just have a question, Coach. In this situation, you have one team who they had a tough game and they lost it against Mainland. They're coming into this, they're playing their rival, but they're still getting ready for the playoffs. How do you attack this? Because you need this game to kind of, gear up for the playoffs, but you're still trying to balance not getting kids hurt in that situation,
You're still in the seeding world too. I mean, if this is in,
sure.
you're fighting for down the road home games, better seeds. Every week you go in, football's you only play. I mean, we used to have this conversation about Thanksgiving games. They don't exist really any much anymore. But
Right.
like, what do you do then? You know, but football's not a game you can kind of
Tiptoe in. Exactly.
right. You can't. You got to be all in to play all in. And if you're not, get somebody else to go do it all in. But I would think if I'm Atlantic City, you want to get, you know, if you are the team that you think you can be, or I would think now you don't have to. I don't know. Come third quarter, come fourth quarter, where you know you can look at where you sit, and you know I don't know if you have to break all the records, if that's the case up there, or you know how many touchdowns before you can throttle it down. And I'm not saying this is going to be a multiple touchdown game, but I'm in my world going, hey, if we can't be in a dogfight against a rival,
Right.
we're not going very far in the playoffs,
Right.
right? I mean.
Well, I don't think there's any question. I mean, they've got to. I think both teams need to find something here,
Right.
out of this game.
And that's what I was going to ask. The flip side of that is Oakcrest. I mean, you're coming off of a loss.
Yeah.
Like, you want to get back in the groove and try to get a win is going into the playoffs. Like,
Well, and I would look at Oakcrest and say the good news for Oakcrest is they know defense travels in the playoffs. The defense is good, but they got to find a way to put some points up on the board. And if they can find a way to do that against Atlantic City, that's only going to breed confidence in that offensive room. It's only going to breed confidence moving forward. Even if they don't win the game, you know, you want to win, of course, and it would boost you in a big way. But can you get the offense going? You never want to come in off a goose egg.
No.
And that's where they're at right now. Atlantic City, they know their offense is going to be traveling and is going to work. They got some of the best playmakers in South Jersey. Maybe it's the other side. Okay, now playoff atmosphere. A defense like this may be low scoring, may be chilly. We'll see.
Right. What can we do when it's, you know, those close games during the season? You know, you're in them. Sometimes you might lose them, but some of those.
Well, Mac, let's talk. Let's go back, and I don't want to exhaust this point since this is a football show. Let's go back and look at the Phillies. How many close games did they blow this year? A lot of them.
Right.
A lot of games they were close. Now they won a lot too, where they were close and came back and won. But they're finding ways to win now, and they feel confident either way because they know what not to do. They know what to do. When you look at the team they dispatched last round, a team that wins games 9-2, 10-1,
Yes.
5-0. Hey, you know what? When the going got tough,
Winning 10-1 in August is a different animal, right? No big deal, right? But here's the deal. I don't know. Multiple coaches have said it. I forget who I just heard it last from. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And that's what the playoffs are about. Playoffs are about being comfortable, being uncomfortable in situations. The further you go down the, you know, and we can point at playoff games that we've all been to over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. You know, as you go down the bracket, you're not talking. These are coin flip games. Some of them, a lot of them. So how are you going to play in a coin flip game when you've been beating teams by 2 or 3 touchdowns all the time?
yeah.
Yep.
So
Another game at 6 p.m. on Friday, Winslow at Cedar Creek. This one could be a lot of offensive fireworks. I know Billy Smith returned last week for Cedar Creek. They get the win over aforementioned Oakcrest. Winslow with Jalen Parker has been clicking on all cylinders. You know, they bounced back after that loss to Washington Township. This is interesting. Again, a game where these two teams are going to go their separate ways when the playoffs start. Cedar Creek in Group 3, Winslow in Group 4. Both of them have hopes to make it to a state final or in that level of competition, right? Cedar Creek, you build off that win against Oakcrest. You can forget about that loss to Delsey with Billy not being in the lineup. For Winslow, the keys have been given to the freshman who's
Yes.
not even old enough to drive. Let's see if he can just keep this thing going. 7 touchdowns total. You know, that might be. He's setting the bar for himself more and more every week. So more and more down the stretch here, we'll see Could be some fireworks in terms of the scoreboard on Friday night at Cedar Creek.
I mean, it's funny. I always talk about having upperclassmen in these situations and come playoff time, right? Like the leadership, knowing. But on the flip side, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And I just looking back, and I think of Matty Wellesley at Shawnee, right?
Sure.
He's a freshman. You talk about getting the keys. Mid-season he comes in, he ends up winning a sectional championship against Clearview, and as a freshman. So it's. I'm not saying there's. It's sometimes in that I don't want to say no pressure, but it's like, hey, yeah, I'm just doing what I've been doing.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know,
right.
right? I've been doing what I'm doing, and and Coach Belton and Coach Hack, I'm sure they're, hey man, just be you, and just have some fun out there. So again, all these primers getting ready for the playoffs.
Here's a big one, too, at 7 p.m. Our 3 games to watch on Friday night, outside of our game of the week, which we'll touch on here in a second, are all down in that Cape Atlantic area. Pleasantville at Middle Township at 7 p.m. This is for the division. Each team's only lost 1 game. Pleasantville lost their season opener at the Ballot at the Beach against Ocean City. They have won every game since then. They've kind of been rolling, putting up a lot of points. And Middle Township lost to Wall earlier in the season in a crossover out of league play game, and they too have been clicking. So those teams are not far apart. Both of them will be in the playoffs in Group 2. That's a mighty big one down there. Saturday, some other ones that are very important. 2 of them in Group 1 are very important for playoff seeding. Salem at Woodbury, 10:30 a.m. Woodbury's still, hoping to have the quarterback back. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Should be back for the postseason. Salem now with a little bit of momentum after beating Paulsboro and West Deptford. We talked about Davion's huge week last week, 4 rushing touchdowns, 200-some yards rushing. The Rams are kind of clicking into gear at the right time. Woodbury, look, started the season, they were the favorite to win probably Group 1 again this season. Quarterback out, but now it's time to get ready. And I want to give a shout out here to Walter Hurd, who says that Middle Township Pleasantville game is actually at 6 p.m. on Friday night. The other game in Group 1 is Woodstown at Pennsgrove at noon. I think if you backtracked about 4 weeks, I don't think we would have said we would be talking about this game on the show. But here we are. And Pennsgrove gets this one at home. They've climbed back to 4-4. Woodstown coming off a big loss to Haddonfield after beating Woodbury in overtime. Woodstown's played some tight games.
It's not the loss.
Pennsgrove doesn't score a lot. Now, they scored in 30s last week against Pennsville, but they don't score a lot. I think defensive struggle here. Maybe look for a knot or something in that game.
Little 14-10 action?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's Woodstown.
Could be some weather Saturday as well, too.
Yeah, and look, the loss to Haddonfield wasn't surprising. The score was surprising, and I think Coach, he's going to get them right.
Yeah, I mean the last 4 times they had played against Haddonfield, that is Woodstown, I think it was like 10-7, 14-10, something like that. Yeah. Low scoring, give up 48. But Pennsgrove here, we'll see what happens, man. Coach Emmels does a great job, so does Coach Adams. The Battle of the Johns down at Pennsgrove.
You definitely have to give Pennsgrove a huge shout out for battling back.
Yeah, they're young,
It
too.
was looking bleak early. It didn't look good, and they found a way to get back in the winner's circle. They're at 500. That's a tremendous job that they've done down there.
Knowing how we know Coach I'm sure, you go back to the drawing board, and there's a standard, right? And if you're not playing, I don't know. I'm not that practice. We don't know the inner workings, but as we used to say, sometimes guys need to be fired.
Right.
And I'm sure some guys got fired.
Well, when you're a young team like they have as well, and we've talked a lot about how young Glassboro is, also in Group 1, and that win Pennsgrove had against Glassboro was huge for them when they beat them 6-0 a couple weeks ago on the road. Defensively, they shut Glassboro down. That defense has been a steady all season. But when you have a young team and the results aren't there, it's what you said about experience, how key that can be, and kind of pulling things together and putting things together by the end of the season. You're bringing along the young guys, whatever. When you're young and you start slow,
Well,
that takes some serious maintenance to make sure everybody stays on the boat. And the next thing you know, you start seeing some results because those guys haven't seen those results. They don't know at the end of the storm there's going to be, for lack of a better term, a rainbow, right? They don't know that. They're just,
And there's a
it's
little-
just raining on them.
right. There's a little deer in the headlights there with young kids a lot of times, right? They're just, and a lot of times they don't go around. We're okay,
That's the thunder.
right?
That's the thunder from the rainstorm.
Right? They
That scared me. Like,
they don't go around. You know, the kids get mature obviously as they get older, and you start playing some football games, and you realize, you know, a lot of them as freshmen are just happy to be on the field, just being part of it, and eventually, you all right, Trip?
I am. I saw our face when that happened. We're on a delay, so I see it late. I saw our face when that when that thing fell, man. I mean, we were both like, "Whew!" Talk about deer in the headlights. That might have been what the freshmen were looking like in the beginning of the season.
Right, we were trying.
Was that face like? What is that? What's going on?
We're trying to
and
get
now
actual
things
looks.
have kind of progressed forward for the Red Devils. So that's a big one. Also, at 2 p.m., Highland at Rancocas Valley. We mentioned this earlier in the show. Highland has won 5 in a row. They've been running the ball, passing the ball, finding their balance, finding, Nehemiah Butler-Mayhew's been excellent running the ball. RV, too, they've lost some close ones. Hamilton, Timber Creek. But when you look at the way they want to play, physical football, playoff football, this could be a real, heavy-hitting game in between the tackles as Highland goes up to RV at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Other than that, I mean, there are some really good games around. I'm sure there's a lot with playoff implications people may be interested in. But those are the 6 we have to watch. The half dozen, it should be, except the game of the week, which if you're not sure where to go, this is the place for you. We're going to preview it right after this break. We'll be right back at the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show.
Champions are made through training and hard work. At Zubac Athletic Performance, we have helped over 40 athletes reach the NFL and have dozens of NCAA players in multiple sports using our programs today. Located in West Berlin, New Jersey, we can help you and your athletes reach your goals. Visit our website for more information.
This show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, the West Jersey Football Coaches Association. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. In less than 3 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and has dedicated itself to helping others. The association has donated more than $50,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. Also want to give a shout out here to Coach Tom Padgett, who is Jersey Gridiron Scout, the premier position training academy and college recruiting platform for all middle school and high school prospects in the tri-state area. Sign up for off-season, winter, and spring indoor position trainings for youth, high school, and college prospects from January to June at Mavericks Training Facility in Moorestown. Register for the Underclassmen College Showcase in May for high school prospects to be evaluated in front of more than 50 colleges. Put yourself on the radar of college coaches. And for families, you can become educated on the college football recruiting process and the whole timeline by partnering up with Tom and Jersey Gridiron Scout today. Check out his website, jerseygridironscout.com, for more info. Follow him on Instagram at Jersey Gridiron Scout and on Twitter at Coach Pajic, P-A-J-I-C. Tom has some players to watch in our game of the week, and it's no question what the game of the week is going to be. Millville at Cherokee, 6 p.m. A lot of orange, some blue, some brown, and good football.
Right.
Cherokee, let's just get the backdrop from Tom. He says the Cherokee defense has 4 shutouts this season. They've given up 36 points. That's less than anybody in South Jersey, and it's 6th in the state. They have 14.5 sacks and 42.5 tackles for loss this season. Austin Leonard, I hope I pronounced that right, Austin. I'm sorry if I didn't. Leads the team with 66 total tackles. But he says the player to watch here is Leo Bluestein, 6'2", number 6, 220-pound D-end, a senior captain. Mac, you know how much the seniors mean for the Chiefs. Bluestein has 6 sacks, 12.5 of those tackles for loss. He has a forced fumble recovery, a scoop and score, a knot. He's a defensive end that changes the line of scrimmage with his quickness, does a great job of disengaging from blocks. High motor, relentless player, could change the game quickly. Bluestein and this Cherokee defense are going to have to limit the explosive plays from Millville, which is not easy. They average 27 points per game. They have 13 passing touchdowns. Cherokee has to find a way to create negative plays. That's what Tom says, and Tom would know. Tom's seen that Cherokee team a lot. His son's a great player on that team. As for Millville, that defense ranks 4th in South Jersey in points allowed, 36 on the season. They have 2 shutouts. They have 25.5 sacks, 57 tackles for loss, 11 interceptions. Mac, you throw this thing and it goes awry in the defensive backfield. Somebody in one of these looking helmets is probably going to come down with it. But at linebacker, a player who's impressed me and impressed Tom as well is Asier Cornish, number 7, 6'2", 220 pounds.
Me
senior.
too. I've seen him play.
Yeah, you've seen him.
Yeah,
You're scared of him.
Yes.
He leads the defense with 54 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, downhill, inside linebacker, old school player.
He's the kind of guy you need to play
Cherokee.
To play Cherokee.
Right. They're going to have to
you
limit that offense, he says.
Well, yeah.
217 yards rushing a game, 22 rushing touchdowns for Cherokee. They'll need to create long-distance situations, put the Chiefs behind the sticks to win. And Tom wants to know what we think. Which matchup do we think has the edge? The high-flying pass game of Millville versus the Cherokee defense, or the high-powered rushing attack of Cherokee versus the Millville defense? I'm going to go the other way, as we often do in these big games, and we kind of say, you know, it's going to be the opposite of what the matchup dictates, right? So can Cherokee find some plays in the pass game?
Right.
Can Millville find some plays in the run game?
Correct.
That's usually what determines it, as these two units that will see each other
can you
kind of
do-
know what the scouting report reads.
Right. Can you do what you typically don't have to do, or what you typically don't do, and how well can you do it? Right? I mean, as Tom said, you need to limit Millville's explosive plays. I mean, some people would say, oh, time of possession. Cherokee has to win time of possession, has to win time of possession. Well, if Millville's scoring on 2 plays, you know, the old saying, well, we scored too fast. Maybe in the 4th quarter you can talk about that, but there's never a time you score too fast, right? And Millville can score fast, right? So the question is Cherokee's not only their best defense, their defense? Is their best defense their offense keeping Millville where they want Millville's offense to be, and that's not on offense.
Well, when you look at Millville last week, and Latsier Brooks, I think, had 4 touchdowns. He continues his assault on South Jersey. Millville has blown through everybody since that season opener. The St. Augustine game was very close. They had the fumble return. They ended up winning by 14. Cherokee really has done the same. I think they've had their way with everyone except St. Augustine, where they lost 3-0. it is very interesting. Cherokee has a defense. Coach Walsh, his defense is specific to itself, right? Like Cherokee's defense is always strong, always well principled, always so good. Millville's defense is so, they're just so fast, and I've always been impressed, not just with the speed and how well coached they are, but that no matter what happens on the offensive side, they just take their lunch pail, they get back on defense, and they stop you, and then they get the ball back to the offense. The key to this game, to me, sits between the 15 and the 30-yard line. Because when the field shrinks against these teams, it's hard to get it in the end zone. And against Millville, it's hard to score from 35 out because they got somebody who could chase you down.
Yes.
So really, that's where I look and see the difference in the game. Outside the turnovers, the field position, 15 to 35-yard line. What happens inside that range? Because I just think it's going to be hard to score on either one of these teams inside the 10.
Yeah. I mean, look, I do think the Chiefs got to do what both teams got to do what they do.
Yeah.
And patience is one of those things that, like, you'll watch a Cherokee game and you'll think to yourself, they keep it, KISS, they keep it simple, stupid if they need to. If Cherokee's one of those teams, if they're getting 6-7 yards on a play, bank it. They're doing it again.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not do it that next. I mean, it's happened. They're going to run the same play the other way. They're going to run it 2 plays later. They have a great staff up and down. Glatzy and crew are on it.
Yeah.
They know where teams' weaknesses are, and they'll exploit them, and they'll keep exploiting them. They don't need to be the smartest, quote unquote, guys in the room, X and O's, but they are the smartest guys in the room because they find where they need to exploit, and they take it, and they don't let go of it. On the other hand, you look at a Millville defense, which is, as you said, athletic as heck, tough as heck in the middle, can shut you down on the outside, and we know the skilled kids in Millville are second to none. So, do we get into a point where we start talking about, well, who turns the ball over?
Yeah, of course.
Special teams, flipping fields, making Millville, back to Tommy, what he said, you got to limit those explosive plays. They're going to, look, we used to tell our guys, you don't know what they are, but you're going to look back, you watch the film, there's going to be 6 to 8 plays that change the game. And you never know which 6 to 8 plays they are. Like, the play where Brooksy catches a slip screen and gets tackled for a 5-yard gain instead of a 55-year-old burst. And we've seen it at both sides, right? We've seen that kid morph when 3 kids go to tackle him and you feel like he disappeared. And next thing you know, he's in the matrix and he's down at the 5-yard line somewhere else, right? But if you get him on the ground, it's a different story.
It's an interesting point. Last year, Kevin Emmons points out it was a very good game. Cherokee had the backup quarterback. Millville pulls away late, makes a couple big plays there in the fourth quarter. The last time Millville was at the bowl was when they beat Mainland in the state semifinals last year. Something to point out, I think.
Playing at the bowl against Mainland is
right.
It's
well,
different.
It's different.
It's different.
They were on the road side.
Yeah, but then playing against Cherokee.
But they are well aware of the atmosphere of the place. It's going to be a big deal. Of course, it's going to be a packed house. Now, the Phillies play at 8, so 6 p.m. kick.
No, there's cell phones. So
PJs might be some people over PJs instead. But
that game's going to be packed.
I will say this: when you look at Lenape, I'm sorry, not Lenape. When you look at Millville this season, the expectations are so high. And I think of the Eagles, what they've gone through this season, what the critiques are. Their expectations are also high. They haven't hit those expectations. I think everybody knows that. Millville, on the other hand, has hit those expectations. I mean, compared to last year, they won games they lost by 8, they won by 7, they lost by 4 to Lenape, they won by 11, they won by 11. This year they've pretty much just. Yeah. Other than the St. Augustine game, 21-7, and losing to Toms River North in the opener, they pounded everybody. And they're taking care of these teams. this year. Now they're different teams. I understand that too. But Millville, I think, presents a lot of problems in a lot of different ways. And I think Cherokee, if Cherokee plays the game they want to play, they can beat anybody. I think Millville can play 2 or 3 different types of games and be able to beat you.
Right,
And
Cherokee.
that's the thing. If Cherokee executes, plays well, and does their game, we know they're as good as anybody in South Jersey. Right now, they're the #1 team in Group 5 in the South bracket, and that's out of anybody.
Listen,
But I also know that if things aren't exactly perfect for Millville, they can still find a way to win because that's what we've watched them do for 2 years, 3 years now, really.
Cherokee is not beating Millville in a shoot. Oh, I shouldn't say not. I don't think they're beating Millville in a shootout.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored.
No.
I mean, there shouldn't be based on these defenses, right, Rod?
Well, no, this is to your point of what styles, though.
It's shaping up that way. I mean, it's kind of similar to the Toms River matchup for Cherokee Millville game. Cherokee wants to run the ball. They want to control the clock, eliminate big plays from Millville. It's always a juggling act. What are you going to give away? What are you going to, it's hard to do both.
Sure.
But here, let me ask
playing
this.
Millville.
But see, Millville's schedule, to your point, this year, I don't want to say the word pressure, but there's a little bit of expectation. You're the reigning state champion.
It's pressure.
Okay.
That's Millville.
That's
Millville.
Two times
South Jersey.
Right.
Call what you. There is pressure.
Yeah.
There's only 2 or 3 games a year where Millville, the pressure kind of, I don't want to say comes off, but the expectations drop a little bit. They get in that bus driving up from Millville and they're like, there's some people that think we're going to lose tonight. Like most weeks, you're not saying Millville's going to lose tonight. I mean, there's 2 games, maybe, right? There's the Augie game. There's say Toms River.
Yeah.
Augie. And
Cherokee.
So they know that.
I think that's true, but I also think that last year the focus wasn't there. Like they lost to Lenape last year. Let's just be real. They shouldn't have lost to Lenape last year. That's nothing against Lenape last year. They were upset, whatever. This year they played Lenape. Lenape's not what they were last year, but they took care of business right from the jump.
Close for half.
They have taken care of business every week this year. It's like the inverse of the Eagles. Last year, they were winning by 4 touchdowns. This year, they're winning by 4 points. Last year, Millville was winning by 4, 7, whatever. This year, they're game's over.
But we talk, you talk about environment. Like, I'm the one who brought, you're going to Cherokee. It's a different spot. You're playing Cherokee at Cherokee. I think Millville embraces that. That's fun, right? Now all that expectation, all that quote unquote pressure. Now it's like, man, let's just go let it rip, right? And both teams too. Like, the Cherokee's sitting there going, man, we're the top in Group 5. Yeah. They know who they are.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it as far as giving extra incentives for the game, Cherokee, you're looking at it like, hey, this is a statement game.
Yeah.
Millville come to us, we roll them, we're the top dog, right? So they have that underdog mentality. And like you said, Millville may be rolling in like, yo, these dudes think we're going to lose today. Nah, we're not having that. Right. Let's go. So both teams have a lot to gain from winning this game. This is a big game in South Jersey, and this year has been a little up and down with who's the good teams. Is all that good? Is Cherokee good? Is this has been Delsey. It's been the first year in a couple years where it's kind of been that question, who's really the top dog? And I think this is one game. This is a statement game. This is a huge game.
It definitely is.
This is good. This is 2 teams that at the end of the run could both be state championship teams.
Right.
And if you look at the state, this could be, argument for #1 team in the state. If you extrapolate all the way down.
Yep.
Now we can do that. The kids and coaches shouldn't be doing that stuff.
Right.
Well, and this is a state semifinal, state title type of game, right? Like these 2 teams, this caliber of game in public football.
Correct.
And we have a when you look at Cherokee here the last couple of years, it hasn't been up to their standards when they bowed out of the playoffs. It hasn't been. And the COVID year was a year where they were there. Lenape came in and beat them, right? That was a year where that was a really, really good Cherokee team. That
Correct.
came off a year where they had lost to Williamstown in that regional final at Rutgers. So it was a building year. But then the next couple of years, they lost to North Brunswick at home. Last year, they lost to Kingsway in the semifinals. Not up to par with what they expect. This is a team that expects to compete for a state championship. Guess what? The team they play on Friday night is going to be the best team they play outside of if they play Toms River North in a sectional final or a state semifinal.
Right. No,
So this is, for Millville, the last 2 years, they've played the best of the best all the time. Both those seasons ended with Millville holding a trophy.
Yes, it did.
And everybody else in their group not holding one.
But to your point, right? You're saying, you have the Cherokee, the Pagics, the Benders, the Blaustein.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that they're built for this stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that this is what they've been working for.
Cherokee will have an advantage at special teams, right? They're excellent kicking the ball, always are. But it's going to be a great atmosphere, and any South Jersey football fan will want to be there, man. This is truly,
Penalties.
penalties always matter.
Can't have penalties. Keep it. Look, when I go to a football game, I don't like seeing penalties. I don't like seeing turnovers. You just want good football.
And that's what I'm hoping we get.
Yes.
You know, at the end of the day,
100%.
when you get two of your best teams playing each other, you just want a good competitive game.
Right.
And I'll say this, especially coming off of last week where we've seen some not so competitive games as far as scores. This is big boy football, and we just want to see a good game. I don't care who wins.
We want 15 rounds. We want 15 rounds. Right.
And like Troy says in here, if my son had a game on Friday, I'd miss it to watch this game, even if it was senior day. I don't think we need to say more. I don't think we need to say more about this one. It is definitely the game of the week. Millville at Cherokee, 6 p.m. Both teams ranked in our top 4 of our best 11 rankings. We had no movement last week, so first off, let's give a nod to 2 teams I think are just right on the outside. If we had movement out, I think they're in, and I'm looking at Paul's 6 in Atlantic City. I think they're both very good teams.
Yes.
But at
absolutely.
11, same as last week, same song and dance, everybody held serve. Willingboro at 11, Winslow at 10, Washington Township at 9, Holy Spirit at 8, Timber Creek at 7, Camden at 6, Delsey at 5. That's 7, 6, 5. They're all Group 3 schools, so we'll see what happens there. 4, Cherokee, who rolled last week, and hosts Millville. St. Augustine at number 3. They beat Cherokee, the only team to do so 3-0 this season. Mainland at number 2. They're still undefeated. And number 1, OBG. And they will play number 4 on Friday night, just hours before, hopefully, the Phillies get out of the brooms. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
See what happens.
Right. Phillies hit a field goal late in the 4th to make it 10-0 last night, right?
Yeah, that's right. Want to thank again Rod Self here and his company, D2 Sports Network, the man behind the glass who does everything. There's not really glass, but I just like saying that, man. It makes it seem like there's
right.
It's glass windows. Studio B, beautiful Studio B. Anything you need in terms of shows, podcasts, recording, anything, reach out to Rod. He will hook it up. Tell him we sent you. MAC playoffs next week. We'll preview all the playoff brackets next week, so be sure to set aside a lot of time, South Jersey, because we got a lot we're going to go through.
Even if it's a school night.
Even if it's a school night.
And there'll be no Phillies baseball.
That's right. No matter what. there'll be
No matter
Phillies
what, it's an off day.
That excuse of school the next day kind of goes out the window after last night.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old was up watching the game, screaming, "Go Phils!" So, I mean,
No.
it was a struggle this morning getting her
look,
up, but she made it.
5. She knows her math, right? She all right.
Yeah.
This stuff is forever, right? Like people don't. 15 years ago.
Yeah, you're not going to.
28 years before that.
Yes, any parent when it's Super Bowl playoffs, things like that, let the kids stay up.
Correct.
They'll be all right. You won't even remember that happened.
And it is a It is a sleep-deprived time of year, no question about it. But that's a good thing, and we enjoy missing the hours just to watch the late innings. We'll be back next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. with the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show playoff preview. And until then, enjoy the games this weekend. Be safe. Get ready for playoffs.